Good morning, everybody. 8:30ish a.m. Pacific time here on Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Okay. So I had a topic in mind for today, and then I remembered that I had a topic already scheduled for today. There was a message posted from a Linchpin member in the private Facebook group from Melissa B. And it was a great topic, and I told her I'd circle back to it. So this is what we're going to do. So this is her question. I'll read her question, and then we'll go ahead and dive right in. But it's generally about recovery. So, Melissa says, "Hi, hope all is well in your world. In episode 432 of Linchpin Conversations, you talked that sometimes you do a shorter warm-up when you're tight on time, but you always do a cool down / stretching because otherwise you quote-unquote pay for it. True. Can you say more about that on a future episode or point me to where you've already covered it? I'm 57 years old, female, and spent decades as a distance runner. I'm still pretty new to lifting, a little over a couple years. My level of soreness is keeping me to lifting basically 2 training days each week. And each one of those training days is the lifting plus Metcon style workout. And I wonder if that's part of what's keeping me sore. My body never gets familiar enough with the effort to really adapt to it. I'd love to train 3 workouts a week. That's why she's here at Linchpin. Wondering if a post-workout routine could help. I tend to focus more on the warm-up to help me get the best out of my workout and do a couple quick stretches afterwards and return to the day." So, sounds like she's coming over from that classic protocol that we get so many people joining Linchpin because of. They're just exactly like Melissa's saying, sore, tired, beat up, not recovering from that. I was going to say your friend and mine, but it's not our friend, the heavy lift plus Metcon session. So how can we get her from where she is? First of all, I should say that the comments under this were filled with, "Hey, I've been there." It can be a tough mindset to break free, thinking that you have to do a heavy lift plus Metcon every day, but that is actually what's holding you back, what's keeping you sore. That's why you can't get in 3 days a week. That's why you can't recover. Let it go. We've all been there. Embrace what we got going on in Linchpin, and all of a sudden you'll be fitter, faster, and stronger, and you won't feel beat up, and life will be great. So those are the overwhelming comments, but let's talk a couple other pieces about this. So when I say specifically that every now and then I'll do an abbreviated warm-up if it makes sense. Some workouts I can't get away with that, and time's tight, but I have to, as I said, cool down and stretch or I pay for it. What I mean by that is each person's a little bit different, and I would think that most people have something which they could identify like this. But for me personally, when I say I'll pay for it, what that means is if I don't do at a minimum, my bare minimum is I have to do maybe like a 5-minute cool down, and that's just casual walking, jogging, biking, rowing, something like that. And then the wall stretch for my hip, 2 minutes on one side and 2 minutes on the other side. That's my bare minimum, maintain my quality of life, not live in chronic pain sort of a deal. And if I don't do that, I pay for it. That's what I meant by that. Now, that might make sense now that we're all aware that I had a hip replacement surgery a few years ago, that I've got issues going on my hip from that military accident. And so if I blew off my wall stretch, my hip flexors would be so painfully tight. It was noticeable. It wasn't like my opinion. It was noticeable. I could tell when I did it and didn't do it, that it would just tug on my low back, and I would not only have tight hip flexors, but I would have low back pain. And when I'm diligent about that hip flexor stretch, life is good. So that's what I mean, like no matter what I got going on, if I don't do that, I pay for it. But here's why it's an individual deal. While I truly believe that everybody will benefit from doing a cool down and then doing some stretching to learn about what your body needs, not everyone needs to do the exact same thing that I do, because not everyone has the same issues. I doubt that most people need to do the wall stretch every single day to not live in chronic pain, but that's what I have going on. So here's what I would say for you, Melissa. That's what I meant by I would pay for it. Now, if you haven't already, I would really recommend that you listen to Linchpin Conversations episode 367. That's entitled Heavy Lift plus Metcon equals mediocre results. The title says it all, but I think you would really benefit from listening to that. Again, it's episode 367, specifically based upon the background you're kind of describing there. And I think that is the actual culprit, maybe even more so than not giving the cool down and stretching the time and attention that it needs. I think that heavy lift plus Metcon is the culprit as to why you're really sore all the time. You shouldn't be living life like that. Don't seem to be recovering. You can't add another training day to your week to get to 3 training days a week because you're just so darn sore and your body doesn't seem to adapt to it. Now, for why I do believe the cool down is a good idea for most people, just generally speaking, if you're working out hard, lifting hard, whatever it is that you're doing, you don't want to have your body go from 100 miles an hour to like dead stop 0 and just walk out of the gym. That's not going to benefit everybody. 5 to 15 minutes, generally speaking, easy walking, biking, rowing, great, and then stretch. Now, each day on Linchpin, we provide you some very basic, and they're not crazy, just basic, time-tested stretches. They're not sexy or flashy. I know, right? Shocking. Shocking at Linchpin, they're not doing sexy and flashy stuff. But they move the needle and they work. Now, that protocol that's assigned each day, that's also the stretches that are chosen each day, are based upon the musculature that we used in the workout that day. What I would recommend you do is give that a chance and do it for, let's say, at least a month. Then what would be great is you'll learn about yourself over the course of that month. And you'll learn that those stretches treat you really well, or that you're tighter in this one area that you didn't even realize, much more flexible in this other area than you gave yourself credit for. This could use a bit more of attention. If I'm ever pressed for time, I've learned that I can blow these stretches off because I've got a lot of wiggle room there. That's what you'll learn about yourself. And then by all means, you're authorized to keep the ones that work really well for you, learn about the areas of you that maybe need a bit more of attention, and add or delete things as necessary so you find that little sweet spot that you hum as an athlete and your body feels really good on a regular basis. But that's why we do, that cool down and stretch to kind of gradually return your body to homeostasis, because if you want your muscles to just turn into concrete the next day and to feel like a truck hit you and to not feel good, blowing off a cool down and a stretch is a great way to almost guarantee that. If you're just going hard, lifting hard in a workout, and then you just stop on the last rep, walk back into the house or back into the office and sit down in your chair for another 4 or 5 hours for the day, yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if you feel quite poor the next day. So we'd like to break out of that habit. And, but like I said, I think more so what's keeping you back is that heavy lift plus Metcon twice a week right there. You're clearly not recovering. And you've got a couple variables, as all of us do, that you can manipulate to see if you feel better. And this applies to everybody with their training protocol. And there's a lot, but the 2 big ones that you can play with the knobs are the volume of your workouts and the intensity. Those would be the 2 big ones. And so you're training twice a week right now, Melissa is. That seems quite reasonable. Okay, so now if we think, that doesn't seem like you're doing an outrageous number of training days per week, well, why are you not recovering? Well, let's take a hard look at what those sessions are. Now we see that both of those sessions are heavy lift plus Metcon. Again, probably not going to go well. So I would recommend breaking free from that, because you know what that does to you right now. Makes you feel really sore, not feeling good, can't get another session. That in and of itself, just logically speaking, isn't providing you the results that you want. So, right, let's break away from that, give something else a try, and see how you feel. So for a couple months, put that in the rearview mirror, and you just dive in to 3 days of Linchpin, right? Now, for those 3 days of Linchpin, if you haven't already, listen to episode, I wrote it down here, 128. Episode number 128 is entitled, Help, I Can Only Work Out 3 days a Week. And that's where you want to get. And it discusses, out of the 5 training days that we assign, if you're only going to do 3, how do you select which 3 to choose? And again, that's episode number 128. Of those 3 days, and it walks you through, I'll let the cat out of the bag right now. I think it's basically choose 1 classic heavy day, and then the other 2 days would be mixed modality days. of those 2 mixed modality days, choose one that's kind of filled with stuff you like. You like the movement patterns, you like the loading, you like the workout. It's going to be easy to walk into the gym. Great. On the other mixed modality day, choose one that kind of has some of your deficiencies in it, has some of your weaknesses in it. It's going to be a workout that you're like, this is going to humble me a little bit. I'm not going to crush the leaderboard. Well, that's good, right? Because you're pushing outside your comfort zone and you're working on some areas that you need to improve. So one that you love, one that has some areas that you need to focus on, and one heavy lift. Now, those are the 3. Again, still listen to the episode. But then the other knob and variable that you can manipulate there is the intensity at which you attack those workouts. Okay, so the heavy day comes up, give it the respect that it deserves, because you're not trying to sneak in a Metcon also, so you can actually really warm up and build up your warm-up weights and rest appropriately between the heavy lift sets and really cool down and stretch. You'll feel so good. So you'll respect the heavy day. Then out of the 2 other days, one of them, maybe the one that you really like, that's one that you try to depress the gas a little bit. Try to bring a little bit of heat that day. The other workout, allow that to be a low intensity day or a moderate intensity day, just depending on how you're feeling. But don't burn it down again on that day. Implement those 3 training days into your week. Give it a month or 2, see how you feel, reassess from then on. And also, it should go without saying that on those mixed modality days, those 2 training days, hopefully, of course, scale as needed, anything that you would need to, loading, rep range, movements, all those kind of good things. And with that desired end goal, you can get there for sure. So break free of the heavy lift plus Metcon, in addition to learning how to modulate your intensity and scaling as needed, and you will not be walking around sore every day. Work in that cool down, time dependent, however much time you have, 5 to 15 minutes, casual, walking, jogging, biking, or rowing. Give those stretches their fair due. See how your body feels. Experiment with the stretches as need be. Find your sweet spot, and then march forward to long-term health and fitness. So, Melissa, I hope that helped. Everybody out there, have a fantastic day. Make smart training decisions, and we will talk later.